Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 6:02 p.m. on Monday, June 7th, 2021. This virtual public hearing is now open. My name is Michael Kirshner. I'm an environmental engineer currently assigned to the Asheville Regional Office of the North Carolina Division of Air Quality. I have been appointed to be the hearing officer for this public hearing by the director of the Division of Air Quality, Mike Abrazinskas. The purpose this evening is to receive your comments, either written or oral, for consideration in the issuance of a new air quality permit to Duke Energy Progress, LLC, Roxboro Steam Electric Plant for the closure of the east and west ash basins and the excavation, handling, and transport of the coal ash in those basins to an existing lined landfill located on site, the expanded landfill. The focus of this hearing, and the only focus, is to receive public comments on the proposed air quality permit as they relate to the applicability of air quality regulations. The Division of Air Quality is conducting this public hearing digitally to allow for public participation while protecting public health under current guidance to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The public hearing announcement was published in the Roxboro Courier-Times and on the Division of Air Quality's website on May 6th, 2021. The public comment period closes June 9th, 2021 at 5 p.m. During this virtual public hearing, we will be receiving oral comments from those individuals who pre-registered to speak at this event. If you are having technical difficulties with the WebEx platform, you can use chat feature in WebEx to ask questions or seek assistance. You can also visit the Division of Air Quality's website using the link in the public notice for this hearing for instructions on various ways to connect to WebEx. Joining me for this hearing tonight by WebEx are from DAQ's, the Division of Air Quality's Raleigh Central Office. We have Mike Pajetra, the Deputy Director of the Division of Air Quality. We have Mark Suella, the Title V Permit Section Chief. We have Rahat Ashik, Environmental Engineer with the Rules Development Branch, and Ed Martin, Environmental Engineer with the Permitting Section. From the DAQ's Raleigh Regional Office, we have Taylor Hartsfield, the Regional Supervisor, Matthew Mahler, a Permitting Engineer, and Will Wyke, the Compliance Supervisor. I want to thank everyone in getting this public hearing scheduled and organized, with special thanks to Rahat Ashik and Zainab Nassif for their expertise setting up this virtual event. I would also like to thank everybody for their attendance and interest in this public hearing tonight. The North Carolina Coal Ash Management Act requires environmental permits related to coal ash are subject to public participation. As such, we are holding this public hearing to receive pertinent public comments on whether to allow or deny issuance of an air permit to Duke Energy Progress for the previously described ash excavation, handling, and relocation activities. The comment period for this permit opened May 6th, 2021, and will close on June 9th, 2021 at 5 p.m. In addition to oral comments tonight, the division is also accepting comments via mail, electronic mail, and by telephone to a voicemail box. The email address and phone number for the voicemail box is displayed on your screen. Copies of the permit application, the air permit application review, the draft air permit, and other information concerning the Duke Energy Progress application are available to the public at the following locations: the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality Raleigh Regional Office, located at 3800 Barrett Drive in Raleigh, North Carolina, or the Division of Air Quality Central Office Permit Section, located at 217 West Jones Street in Raleigh, North Carolina. If you haven't done so and wish to review these materials in person, they are available to you during normal business hours at the locations just mentioned. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, an appointment is required. Please call in advance to make an appointment. A copy of the draft air permit and permit application review are also available on the Division of Air Quality's website at www.ncair.org in the section titled Public Engagement. The order of events for this hearing are as follows. First, Ed Martin of our Raleigh Central office, who reviewed the permit application and wrote the draft permit, will discuss the application, the draft air quality permit, and the air permitting procedures. This will be followed by the public comment period. We will receive oral comments from those individuals who pre-registered to speak at this event. This will allow us to have an accurate hearing record. Only those who have pre-registered will be called on to speak. If we do have extra time, we will invite additional comment. To provide enough time for public comments, this meeting will be conducted in the following manner. All efforts will be made to call speakers in the same order of their registration. Oral statements will be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes in order to hear as many citizens as possible. This public hearing is scheduled to adjourn no later than 9 p.m. tonight. We will call the names of each of the pre-registered speakers in order, and our WebEx host will unmute that speaker when it is their turn to speak. We will also announce the name of the next speaker in the queue so that they can prepare to provide their comments. Please do not start speaking until the WebEx host has indicated that you are able to unmute your microphone. Your time will begin when you have unmuted your microphone. We will keep track of your time and will announce when your 5 minutes have elapsed. Please respect the time of all who wish to present oral comments tonight by adhering to the time limits and closing your remarks as quickly as possible once your time has elapsed. Cross-examination of the person presenting comments or me, the hearing officer, will not be allowed. However, as the hearing officer, I may question the presenter for clarifications. Questions directed to the Division of Air Quality staff members will not be answered during this hearing. If you have questions for DAQ staff, we can provide you with our contact information, or you may contact them after the meeting during normal office hours. In case I didn't mention it, we will keep track of your time and you have 5 minutes for your public comments. After receiving comments this evening, the public hearing record will be closed. However, the period for submitting comments does not close until Wednesday, June 9th, 2021. Again, the only focus of this virtual public hearing is presentation of comments related to air quality issues associated with the new air quality permit for the Duke Energy Progress Facility and the applicability of air quality regulations. Only relevant air quality comments can be considered in my recommendation to our division director. I will now call on Ed Martin, the permit engineer for the Division of Air Quality, Raleigh Central Office, to discuss the air permitting procedures and permit application review. Ed?
Thanks, Michael. In order to comply with the North Carolina Coal Ash Management Act of 2014, the Federal Disposal of Coal Combustion Residuals from Electric Utilities Rule, known as the CCR Rule, and the Roxboro Steam Station, Department of Environmental Quality Coal Combustion Residuals Surface Impoundment Closure Determination of April 1, 2019, mandating closure of the existing east and west ash basins via excavation. Duke Energy plans to dewater and excavate material from the ash basins and place the excavated ash in a line expansion of the existing ash landfill. Historically, ash generated from coal combustion was sluiced and sent to the east and west ash basins. However, several years ago, modifications were made to convert from wet to dry ash handling, and the ash is currently collected and deposited in the ash landfill. The Roxboro plant ceased all waste flows to the ash basins in 2019 Expansion of the ash landfill is currently scheduled to begin in the fourth quarter of 2021. Increased fugitive particulate, lead, and toxic emissions from the project result from the following: vehicle traffic on the haul roads that transport ash to the existing landfill and to the new line expansion landfill, from excavation and material handling for loading and unloading ash, and due to wind erosion of ash piles at the ash landfill, expanded landfill, and the ash basins. In addition, a small 300 kilowatt generator will be added as an insignificant source for emergency power at the new landfill to be operated less than 500 hours per year, emitting insignificant amounts of various pollutants. With this modification, all facility-wide air toxic pollutants emitted have been shown by air dispersion modeling to be less than 20% of the acceptable ambient level concentrations beyond the facility's premises. This is the first step of a significant permit modification. Duke must file a Title V air quality permit application for these changes within 12 months after the first excavation of ash from the ash basins or the first placement of ash in the expanded landfill, at which time the changes will go through the second step of the Title V permitting process. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. At this time, we will hear from those who pre-registered to provide oral comments this evening. When your name is called, our WebEx host will enable you to unmute your microphone so that you can provide your comments. To ensure that our records are complete, please clearly state your name and who you are representing. Your comments will be recorded, so please speak loudly and clearly toward your microphone or telephone, and please do not start speaking until you have unmuted your device. It is critically important for the audio clarity of your comments that you turn off any speakers that you have that could create feedback. If there is significant feedback on your line, we may have to mute your call and attempt to come back to you later. If we call your name but cannot hear you, please check to see if you are muted on the WebEx screen on your computer. If you are having audio issues, try a different method of audio connection within WebEx, or use the Call Me feature to have WebEx call your personal telephone. If we still cannot hear you, we will proceed to the next registered speaker, but we'll call your name again at the end of the hearing. I will do my best to pronounce your names correctly, and I apologize in advance for any errors. We will now begin taking oral comments. And our record of the first commenter we have registered is Miss Hope Taylor, followed by Bobby Jones.
Ms. Taylor, your line has been unmuted. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Hope Taylor. I'm a public health professional and former executive director of Clean Water for North Carolina, but I'm not speaking on their behalf tonight, but much of my experience with this community is based on work that I did with Clean Water for North Carolina. First, I want to start by considering environmental justice issues. DAQ has included a draft environmental justice report and acknowledges that the census block that includes the Roxboro plant and the surrounding community has a higher African-American population as well as a higher population below poverty than the state of North Carolina as a whole. In fact, having done a lot of door-to-door outreach from 2015 to 2018 around this area, mostly within a half-mile of the coal ash basins at Roxboro, the nearest neighbors are actually over 90% African-American, and many of them are descendants of Black landowners who sold part or all of their land to CP&L in the 1960s to build the Roxboro plant. So many of them have a long knowledge of the operations of the plant and have been impacted by coal ash dust and other emissions over the years, as well as groundwater contamination that we believe to be associated with the coal ash leaching into the groundwater. Clean Water for North Carolina staff also worked with residents around the Cliffside plant to monitor particulate emissions as hauling of coal ash was happening to and from landfills on that site, and did find major increases in particulates while coal ash was being hauled. Despite the well-documented increased risk of elevated particulate levels for cardiovascular diseases and respiratory diseases, including COVID-19. This draft Title V permit includes no control devices for excavation at the east or west ash basins, for materials handling associated with the excavation, or for hauling of ash to the expanded lined ash basin. And I'll come back to this, but it's very clear to me that the addition of those to this Title V permit with no such controls is far from adequate to protect the surrounding population. Modeling of these sources indicated an increase in emissions of particulate material and of toxic metals, yet the permit appears to specifically exempt the facility from monitoring, recording, and reporting emissions for these sources. And it says that there are no enforceable limits. Only the facility would only be required to offer an explanation if emissions exceed known amounts. And without monitoring, one has to wonder how they would ever know if that exceedance had occurred. While community members in this area strongly supported the complete excavation of coal ash, many of them were well users whose wells were impacted by groundwater contamination. Many of them came to 2019 meetings associated with closure decisions, and they were very supportive of complete excavation to protect groundwater. They deserve much better from this permit than allowing these materials handling and excavation and hauling activities to go forward with no controls, no monitoring, recording, or reporting to the agency. It is critical that this permit now be revised to include controls, monitoring, and reporting to protect this community. Any community would deserve that, but this community, being a very clear environmental justice community, already disproportionately impacted by the operations of this facility for decades, certainly there's an added moral imperative to include controls, reporting, and record and monitoring of emissions in order to protect this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Next up is Bobby Jones. And I don't believe we have any speakers that have pre-registered other than that.
Mr. Jones, if you've dialed in by phone, please press *3 so I can identify your line to unmute you. Mr. Jones, please press *3 if you've dialed in by phone. Mr. Jones, if you've dialed in by phone, please press *3 so I can identify your line to unmute you. Okay, at this time, I'm not able to identify Mr. Jones. We'll have to move on.
Okay, well, that is all the names that were pre-registered to speak. We have some, obviously, remaining time for those who have not spoken. So at this time, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand in WebEx or press *3 on your phone so that we can allow you to be unmuted and provide your comments. When you are unmuted, please announce your name clearly at the beginning of your comments, and once you have provided your comments, please lower your hand or again press *3. Rahat, do we have anyone?
I'm looking. Just give me a second to see through the list. At this time, I do not see anybody indicating that they would like to speak.
Okay. If you did not speak tonight, but still want to provide comments on the issuance of this air quality permit to Duke Energy Progress, please remember there are several other ways to provide comments until the end of the comment period on June 9th, 2021 at 5 p.m. You can call 919-707-8714 and leave a voicemail message with your first and last name, who you are representing, and state your comments are related to the Duke Energy Progress Roxboro Ash Basin closure, or you can provide written comments until the comment period ends June 9th, 2021. To provide written comments, please email them to daq.publiccomments@ncdenr.gov with Duke Roxboro Ash Basin closure in the subject line. You can also mail written comments to the address listed in the public notice. Based on the information received during tonight's hearing and comments received throughout the comment period, I will make a recommendation to the Director of the Division of Air Quality for his consideration in making a final decision on whether to issue the air quality permit to Duke Energy Progress. I want to thank you for your cooperation, attendance, and interest in the air quality permitting process. This public hearing is now adjourned.